Hey up everyone. Well, after the last ZX Moto win in World Supersport, the internet went mental, and now every man and his dog is talking about the man I first introduced to you back in January 2023 before Cove's first Dakar. A lot has happened since then, and with the launch of ZX Moto we entered a new chapter. This year, with the sales success in China of the ZX 500RR, they moved on to begin their challenge in the World Supersport Championship and released their flagship bike, the ZX 820RR. Already, they have pulled in DJI Osmo and the biggest energy drinks manufacturer in the East into the sponsorship portfolio, and that list of sponsors will keep growing. No one could have expected the impact they had on the World Supersport Championship because, as well as the wins they have already had, the viewing figures of the World Superbike Series and the World Supersport Championship in particular have gone through the roof. This video wasn't really about the World Supersport Championship, but they won again in Hungary, so I have to mention it. In race 1, after grinding his way forward through the pack and hanging on to the tails of the two lead Yamahas, Valentin de Beers was sat poised in third and could easily have just accepted that with a big gap back to fourth. However, on the last lap, he saw a mistake and he pounced, passing both of the Yamahas to take the top step on the podium again. After race 1, he sat in third in the championship, just 28 points behind the leader Albert Arenas, who finished second in the race, and just 9 points behind Jamu Masia, who never even finished the first lap of race 1. One slip from Arenas could have meant 4 riders all within touching distance of the top spot, but in race 2, De Beers' race was the one cut short, this time by a technical problem. The weekend finished with him still sitting in third in the championship, now 53 points behind the leader Albert Arenas and 20 points behind Masia, who is still in second. Caricasura had 2 more finishes, but is still struggling to string long, fast sessions together. However, he is still fast when it comes to single lap times and top speed on the straights, so I have no doubt he will string some good results together before the end of the year. But as I said, this video wasn't really going to be about that, because obviously, while the season is up and running, the launch of the ZX Moto 820RR has now happened, and the first few lucky riders have got their hands on one. Even Richard Hammond flew off to China to get himself a ride on one, but amid all the fanfare, there was a problem. One of the engines on the bikes from the very first production run went bang. Now, to be real, all first runs can throw up problems, but an exploding engine was certainly not part of Zhangshu's plan. How he reacted to it is the story here. First, if I can ask you to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I have to say thanks to the BAREBONESMC family on the Ko-fi page and all the people who have bought one of the many t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs and other merch I sell. You are the people who help keep this all going. Why not visit the website or the Redbubble shop to see what we have there? There's something for everyone. All the blogs are on the website if you fancy a read too. And you can find more videos on the Ko-fi group, the Rumble channel and on the backup channel here. But for now, grab yourself a cuppa, because despite the bad news, Zhangshu just replaced the engine in the bike with no questions, and the replacement was all done very quickly, which is always good to see. But it was what came after that was the real news. During the teardown, it was discovered that there had been an O-ring on the suction valve of the oil pickup that got crushed on assembly in the oil gallery in the sump. As well as being slightly crushed, it had a small piece missing, so this is what compromised the oil feed and led to the engine disaster. On such a high-performance engine, the margins are always small. The good news is that it was probably as simple as an assembly error, but there have already been some updates. The entire oil pan was redesigned as part of the recall on the suction valve, and they've also added an aluminium baffle plate in the sump to prevent suction losses at extreme lean angles or under hard braking and acceleration. Then came the bombshell, and for once it was a positive news story, because although I thought Shangshu's initial response was great, when he addressed the problem so swiftly and openly, he has now issued an open offer to all 820RR owners. First I heard that it would replace any engine or even the full motorcycle if the customer isn't happy or they find any evidence of problems due to the oil seal assembly issues, but that wasn't quite right, as you will hear shortly. I think looking at the timeline reveals a lot though, because it was only on the 16th of April that the ZX 820RR we are talking about exploded, with one of the conrods thrown through the casings. The bike was inspected on the 21st of April, just 5 days later, and they discovered the issue was caused by the incorrectly assembled O-ring on the pressure relief valve. This led to the connecting rod failure, and in response, Shangshu announced that if a bike's pressure relief valve is found to be loose or faulty, the owner can choose to either return the motorcycle for a full refund or get a brand new replacement bike. So, if any 820RR owners find their bike hasn't had the O-ring assembled right, they have the option of returning or replacing the entire bike, not just the engine. Now that is completely unprecedented, a first not just for the motorcycle industry, but a first across the whole automotive world as far as I'm aware. It sets an amazing example for other manufacturers, an example that has been sadly lacking in recent years. I really hope the big global brands like Triumph, KTM and Harley-Davidson are watching. It's high time they took better care of their customers, and I hope they will all begin to follow this example. If they don't, they will only have themselves to blame when sales start to move. For the Brits in the audience, the good news here is that a UK distributor has now been signed up. Lexeter Holdings are the new UK distributor, and I expect that initially it will be the dealers that have proven themselves with ZX Moto products that will receive the bikes. Everything is in the early stages, but the plan is that the first 500RRs should be available in June or July, and the 500F and 820RR should follow soon after. So by the end of the year, we should have some ZX Moto bikes actually on the road here, and not just in the hands of the journos. I am sure there will be many reviews telling everyone how wonderful they all are, but let's face it, that's all most so-called reviewers ever do these days, so the companies involved keep sending them more new bikes to review. Next, we can finally see a real look inside the 820RR engine. It won't be a detailed analysis, but it starts to help us see beyond the hype. Now, you know, I had an inkling that this engine had some things in common with the old MV triple from the F3, and I have heard people say the same about it in relation to the Yamaha MT-09 and the various Triumph triples. Now we can start to really see that what Shangshu seems to have done is take aspects of all three motors and others and use them as inspiration for what does seem to be a genuinely new and different engine. For a start, the crank runs the opposite way to the MV1, and the casting is split in a very different way. The air filter setup is something Shangshu mentioned from the start, and his years of running a repair shop have paid off here because it does look user-friendly, which cuts down service time and costs. You simply remove the top cover of the fuel tank and pull out the air filter. I would just mention some of the things I noticed straight away. The motorcycle uses aircraft-style fuel fittings throughout. For me, this is a good omen, because it's an easy place to save costs, and instead they have chosen to use a simple but good quality component rather than skimping. It has soft-lock rubberized clips all over the body panels too, which you would expect to see on a Ducati, MV Agusta, KTM or BMW, but not necessarily on a bargain Chinese bike. As this is a bike built to homologation standards for the World Supersport Championship, the electronic controls were a necessity really. The advantage of the electronic throttle is that it makes it far easier to run things like a bi-directional quick shifter and the front wheel lift control, which is a sort of cross between a launch control and an anti-wheelie device from what I can fathom. Obviously, you get the multiple engine maps too, but remember, this was the first run engine, so it doesn't have any of the modifications done yet. Some parts have already been redesigned to improve things. When you look inside, one of the first things you will notice is that the primary chain is heavy duty. The sort of heavy duty chain that wouldn't look out of place on a superbike. And yes, it's a Borg Warner chain. Then you might see the hollow pressed cover, which is very similar to the MV Agusta design and is simply done to reduce weight without compromising strength. The camshafts are forged and drilled to help lubrication, which is something BMW still refuses to do and KTM could have learned some lessons from. The cam chain tensioner is long too, possibly lengthened for better slack take-up and a smoother run. That's something that was a problem on some of the early MV Agustas, if I remember rightly. As the tension and wear increases, the direction change on the cam chain made it prone to jamming. The cam buckets are DLC coated too, so wear and friction coefficient are both reduced. But from what I can see, the shimming is done by swapping the whole bucket, which makes the job easier in some ways, but it means ordering parts is impossible until after disassembly, which isn't great in my opinion. This is another design quirk it shares with the MV Agusta. It makes the bucket and shim combination lighter and more stable at high RPM, but it means that the complete bucket has to be swapped out if the valves reach the gap limit. It looks like the counterbalance shaft drives the generator too. MV Agusta never got the problems that this caused fixed properly, so I hope Jiangsu figured out a solution. The engine is quiet, with a scissor gear on the counterbalance shaft that meshes with the lay shaft. Triumph's solution was to put the scissor gear on the clutch drum, but it makes it a pain in the proverbials to fit, and both MV Agusta and Yamaha with the MT-09 don't even use scissor gears at all, which is why the engines are just noisier. The area around the valve seat looks quite different from the MV2, and the valves are a completely different length as well as different diameters. So basically, I was wrong. Although set out in a similar way, there are very distinct differences to the MV engine. The entire oil pan was redesigned because of the recall, and an aluminium baffle plate has now been fitted. Most of the bearings seem to be Japanese NMB brand bearings, so a recognised brand and the same as are fitted to many of the bikes made by the Big Four. The shells are bimetallic copper Dido shells, just like all the Japanese bikes too, and the crankshaft is forged, as are the conrods. The conrods aren't fracture split designs like many are these days though. It means they don't all need replacing as split pairs, so again, this is designed to be maintained easily and at minimal cost. Obviously, the design of a mechanic, not a bean counter. The pistons are forged too, but liners are not ceramic as far as I can tell. Maybe this was just on the prototype, but again, maybe it is a legacy of Jiangsu's time with a spanner in his hand, because it is far easier for a repair shop to replace or rebore iron sleeves than it is to do any work on an engine with chromed, nickel seal or ceramic liners. The engine isn't a monoblock design either, which is another way costs could have been cut. The cases are split, so repairs are easier. With a monoblock design, any damage to the barrel would mean replacing the entire crankcase assembly, so at least here the barrels can be replaced or rebored. That's it for today anyway. I have got more news and interviews to go through, but all the translation takes even more time than usual, so please be patient. I am just one bloke after all. I do my best. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. If you appreciate what I do and want to help me stay truly independent, go and visit the website for the best biker t-shirts you can find. There are hundreds of original designs on premium quality t-shirts, mugs, neck gaiters and more, all available worldwide. Links to the main website and the Redbubble shop are in the description. Join us on the Ko-fi link in the description too. You will see the full unedited version of all videos there, and you can buy me a coffee or become one of the full-time members. And don't forget, we are on Rumble, and there is a backup channel on here too. There is some great content on there I just can't share on the main channel. Have a great week, and always remember, keep your spanners close and your keys even closer. Ride free, everyone!